Now to Texas, where state lawmakers are voting on their own controversial voting reform bill. Protesters are inside the Capitol building to show their opposition to the measure. NBC News Now correspondent Priscilla Thompson joins us now from Austin, Texas. Priscilla, tell us about the bill itself and what are Republican lawmakers proposing?
Yeah. Well, legislators are in this building right now tying up some loose ends, but we expect them to get to House Bill 6 shortly. And of course, that is that controversial bill having to do with changing voting laws, making it more restrictive, according to some folks, including measures like limiting the vote by mail applications and how they can be distributed. And also folks who are helping or assisting those at the polls who may need extra help with their ballot are now going to be required to fill out a form detailing how and why that person required help. Those two are just two of the measures in that bill. There are a slew of others that have voting rights advocates and Democrats here very concerned. But of course, Republicans saying that this is going to make elections more accessible and more safe. Morgan?
Priscilla, I have to ask you, there's a lot here. We're talking about mail-in voting. We're talking about voter hours. But you've talked to some of those protesters. I mean, they're inside the Capitol saying they've got a big problem with this. Which parts of this bill are they most bothered by?
Well, Morgan, I'm actually joined here by Charlie with Move Texas, one of the folks behind organizing this demonstration. And I want to put that question to you. When you look at this bill, what is most concerning for you?
Well, there's a lot of concerning provisions, and this has been going through a long process. We're at the culmination of months of work and hours of advocates speaking out against these pieces of legislation. Some of the most concerning provisions are expanding access for partisan poll watchers who aren't trained by the state, aren't certified by anyone. And under this legislation, they could record and intimidate voters in a polling location, and the election judge would face a felony for asking them to stop or asking them to leave that polling location in the middle of that intimidation.
Yeah.
Priscilla,
and you all are here today filling the gallery. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Priscilla, there's a slight delay. Listen, I wanted you to ask Charlie, if you don't mind. This is all so political for a lot of people, but it's personal for people like Charlie. Who is he most worried about this bill harming? Can he give us a face? Describe the people, the neighbors he's concerned about.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Morgan. So she was saying that this is personal for a lot of people. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about who are the people that you feel like are going to be most impacted. When you think about this bill, is there a particular person that comes to your mind or in general that you are concerned about?
Absolutely. At Move Texas, we deal with a lot of first-time voters. We focus on empowering this new generation of Texas voters. And too often what we see is a complicated system of laws that prevents young people from plugging in. And these laws have a chilling effect on first-time voters. All these criminal penalties being added, the fact that there's legislation moving right now that would arm election judges in a polling location, that's intended to intimidate voters. Many who are trying to make their voices heard for the very first time, those are the folks we're sticking up for today.
And my last question to you, you all are in that gallery. When those lawmakers walked through those doors to get on the floor, you all were there with signs expressing that opposition. What was the response from Republican lawmakers? Do you feel like they heard you?
I think they know that Texans are watching, and that's why we're here today. We want to make sure that these lawmakers know that voter suppression is bad for Texans, it's bad for business, and it's bad for our democracy. And we're going to remind them of that every step of the way.
Thank you, Charlie. And so there you have it, Morgan. It's certainly going to be a long day here. As I mentioned, they haven't even gotten to that bill yet. But when they do, Democratic leadership has proposed more than 100 amendments. And so that means debate. That means votes before they even get to the final passage of that bill that would move it out of the House. So expecting a very long night here in Texas. Morgan?
Priscilla, thanks to you and to Charlie for rolling with those punches. We are so happy that we get to benefit from your reporting. Florida, Georgia, and now Texas. Priscilla, thank you so much.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.